Why is cheating seen as the biggest sin you can commit in a relationship, and when does it not matter? I want to tap into a conversation that a bunch of really smart people that I follow have been talking about. So Dominique Morgan talked about her experience being cheated on. I know that my mutual Nia Ola was also talking about cheating, and another smart person that I follow, Jahalis. I will tag all of them down below. But basically, my side of TikTok has been talking about cheating for days, and I have not yet tapped in. If you follow me, you know that cheating is sort of my special interest. It somehow has become my brand. I talk about what I call American cheating, which is my term for what happens when celebrities cheat on each other. They marry the affair partner, and the public sort of helps them paper it up, right? Nobody talks about it anymore. It's seen as tacky or gauche because they are now happily married and they found their happily ever after. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, right? Who is the forgotten partner? Who is forgotten? Who is allowed to cheat? Who is allowed to get away with it? Who is allowed to do whatever they want? And I love that everyone is sort of talking about this when we're talking about in intimate partner relationships. Why is this seen as the greatest and worst thing that can happen to you when obviously we're all adults? We understand that there are worse things that can happen. I don't need to talk about the obvious, right? Like Dominique Morgan said in her video, there is a real fundamental reorganization of your DNA when you have been cheated on, right? Esther Perel wrote The State of Affairs. I'll put a picture here, which is basically a sort of foundational map for how couples can understand why cheating is seen as this incredible sin and how you can recover from it. But I think that when we talk about the societal expectations of it, a lot of people say, oh, but why do I have to lose my friends? Or why does it mean that I'm a bad person? Another thing that's interesting about this conversation is that it sort of reveals to you where someone stands on their politics, right? Where I feel like I unfortunately fall because I grew up in a shame-based culture. I'm Dominican and Catholic, and so unfortunately, I believe that a lot of life is suffering. When we have these conversations, some people are revealed to be a little bit more carceral or a little bit more judgmental or harsh in understanding the ways that they conceptualize what happens and the fallout of these. For example, when Scandal was happening 2 years ago, I said I wasn't surprised that Tom Sandoval turned out to be a piece of shit because he is a piece of shit, right? The ability to deceive someone for 9 months, to sleep with their best friend, to not care that their grandmother was dying or their dog was dying, and continue doing something like this sort of revealed a lack of moral character, right? Societally, there are things that you can do to wiggle around your new reputation, right? You can completely rehab your public image and throw a woman under the bus. It's been 20 years of Brangelina, by the way. They are in the playlist. I finally made a video about the way that Brad Pitt was able to escape any criticism and sort of made it Angelina versus Jennifer instead of him being the bad one. If you're a well-respected auteur or intensely private, you can sort of dodge conversations around your private life and make it not a big deal. Talking about American cheating has been really interesting these last couple of years because it shows that there are certain times where people just literally do not care, right? We have all of these conversations about the moral injury and the fact that this is very carceral. This is very punishing. The way that people talk about this, I would die if this happened to me. And yet when it happens to people that they love, they literally do not care. They say, I love the art that they produce. I love their content. I think that they're talented, so I don't care what happens in their personal lives. And of course, this is also another conversation of why are we talking about people's personal lives anyway, but if you follow me, you know what I feel. You can't have it both ways. You can't be the most famous person in the world, and you understand that when you want to be famous, you are giving up your personal life in exchange for this. And this is another example, right? Ariana Grande famously talks about her personal life in her art, but then when we find out that she did something unsavory, it's how dare you ask me a question? And it's well, your personal life has always been part of your content. You did this. You are shoving this relationship down our throats. There are times when cheating is seen as more unforgivable than others, right? When Billy Crudup cheated on his 7-month pregnant girlfriend slash fiance, Mary Louise Parker, with the 24-year-old Claire Danes, people freaked out, and he was sort of effectively shunned from Hollywood for 15 years. We didn't hear from him. And of course, this varies by community. I made a video also in this playlist where I talked about the Black community, where the Black community is much more likely to sort of turn inward and protect their own because there are obviously much, much, much fewer Black celebrities. So they're much less likely to cancel someone for this versus other communities that are going to be much more carceral and much more punishing and much more ostracizing. I think a lot of people have an entitlement problem, and I think a lot of people have an accountability problem. And I think that there is this weird thing that happens that I've noticed in the last 5 years where people want to do whatever they want and face no consequences for it. Growing up in the Bronx, growing up in New York, it is very apparent and very obvious that there are consequences for your actions, right? So if you fuck up, you will suffer for it. You will be punished for it. There will be consequences. And it's so fascinating to me to watch people have these conversations and conversations about cheating and not understand why they lost their friends or why people don't respect them or why people don't like them. And it's you can't do whatever you want and face no consequences for it, right? These people can. They are famous. And still, I'm talking about them, right? They didn't face no consequences for it. But when we talk about interpersonal harm, when we talk about interpersonal, group situations, this is why I talk about this stuff, because yeah, people care about this stuff. It sort of does reveal the kind of person you are, that you would do this to a partner. I'm sorry that I'm not on the woke side of this. I'm sorry that I'm not the proper person to talk about this maybe. When we talk about norms and mores in American culture, sometimes you are ostracized for fucking up, right? We see that every single day. So I don't understand where the confusion comes from, where people are like, I don't understand why people are punished for cheating. And it's like, we live in a punishment-based culture. Of course you're going to be punished. Is it right? I cannot answer that question. But is it going to happen? Yes.